This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are getting an extra day off from the practice field this week as they don't play again until Monday night when Philadelphia comes to Lambeau Field. Should allow for the likes of Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Aaron Banks, Colby Wood, and others to get more time to heal and potentially play against the Eagles. Philly coming off their bye and sit atop the NFC at 6-2. Green Bay 5-2-1. Kick on Monday is set for 7:15. Turning to Wisconsin, they'll face a ranked team for the fifth time in the last 7 games when they take on number 24 Washington on Saturday at Camp Randall. Badgers 0-5 in conference play, have lost 6 straight overall. They've done it with a backup quarterback most of the season due to an injury to Billy Edwards Jr. But Coach Luke Fickell says injuries along the offensive line may be a bigger problem for them than quarterback.
So we've been put in a situation where, we haven't had our starting quarterback, and we've had to try to grow through those things, along with even more so where we've been with the offensive line this year. It is probably something that's even been a little bit more of a Achilles heel than the quarterback position, if you really kind of look at the grand scheme and how we really are kind of building to be successful.
Fickell did not name a starting quarterback yet this week. Kick on Saturday is at 3:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the 24th ranked Badgers practicing today as they get set to host Northern Illinois on Friday at the Kohl's Center. Wisconsin opened the year with a win over Campbell, and the Bucs going to host the Bulls on Friday night at Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
I think the reality of the Green Bay Packers is they are who they were last year, plus Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons is a generational player who can change playoff series. I mean, you think of those Giants teams in the 2000s that won the Super Bowl. They did it behind generational pass rushers. So you get a hot Jordan Love, you get a hot Micah Parsons, you can win playoff games certified. I just don't know if they are as consistent as some of the best teams in the NFC. The good news is the NFC doesn't have any of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So a Micah Parsons, a Jordan Love coming together at the right time means that they can go ahead and win the NFC.
I think it's inconsistent. We've had games where we played very well, put up a lot of points. We've had games where we have not put up enough points. It's just inconsistent. We've got to find ways to keep building on it, keep going on the things we're doing well, and clean up a lot of mistakes.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Sam Bruchhaus. He joined Bill earlier, and it's one of the better interviews that I've listened to on Bill's show in a while. And Bill has lots of good guests, lots of good interviews. It was outstanding, and I cut up a lot of the questions and a lot of the answers. We're going to pick at that. We had some really good data, some really good specifics on the Packers offense, some things that Jordan Love is doing or needs to do better, some things that Matt LaFleur as a play caller is doing and needs to do better. So if you're like, wow, that guy, and Sam's been on this show before plenty of times, but if you've never heard him before and you're like, who's that? That guy sounds sharp. We're going to hear a little bit more of that conversation as the show continues. But I do want to begin with the Packers. I want to begin with the trade deadline yesterday because we didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it. It's funny. I left work last night and then I fired up, some of my usual podcasts and my usual shows that I listen to, and all of them are hitting the trade deadline so hard. And I'm like, did I miss yesterday? Should we have done more of that? So we're going to do some more of that to begin at least the first hour of the show. Jesse Temple will be here at 5:35. I recorded with him just about a half hour ago. Really good conversation about Billy Edwards Jr. We haven't really talked quarterbacks that much, honestly, because while the quarterbacks have been bad, they've had so many other issues. None of these games have been close. It used to be the case when we talk about the Badgers, man, if they could just get the quarterback, think how good they'd be. Because look at their defensive line and look at their running game. And, every once in a while they'd have some real talented wide receivers and they'd be close, but they'd be a quarterback away. Not the case. So why would we waste time every week talking about the quarterback when it's like issue 10 or one of 10 huge issues? We just haven't spent a whole lot of time on it. So we talked a little bit about the quarterback room, the way they've handled Billy Edwards Jr. And then, maybe the different quarterbacks. Could Carter Smith get in the mix over the next couple of weeks, the final month of the season? So you hear that conversation at 5:30 and a little Badgers hoops talk as well. We did a lot of that with Mike McCleary last night, but a little bit of that as I wrapped up with Jesse. You'll hear that conversation in hour number 2. The phone number, if you'd like to join, I always love taking calls. It's the best part of local sports talk radio, hands down. 608-321-1670. The live stream up and running, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I'd recommend, again, downloading that Wisco Sports Zone app. The link is live. If you go press the Win Stuff button on that app, we're giving away AC/DC tickets. They're coming to Camp Randall next summer. And I'm excited about the concert, so when I make this joke, it's not to downplay the excitement of the concert, but I keep saying it. It's good to see Camp Randall reverting to the 1980s in every single way possible, not just with the product on the field on Saturdays in the fall, but with the acts that are coming to perform in the summer. So that giveaway is live, and I don't know when we're giving them away. It could be tomorrow. Maybe Ebo told me and I forgot, so don't hesitate. Sign up, the Wisco Sports Zone app, and you can go to wiscosportzone.com. The show's YouTube page is a place you can watch and listen as well, but the app is really slick. Also subscribe to the YouTube page because it helps me out. Makes me a couple bones here and there. Man's got to buy groceries. So I would appreciate a subscription. If you have a sec, if you have a YouTube account, it'd certainly be appreciated. So a really exciting trade deadline yesterday. The main players being the Colts, the Jets, and the Cowboys. The Jets were the team that realized we're no good. We're going to sell off some pieces, which means teams like the Colts and the Cowboys, in differing ways, sure, are then allowed to say we're going for it. Right? Anytime we have a trade deadline in baseball, football, basketball, we have a guest on. We have Andrew Wagner. Andrew Wagner is always the example that I think of because Andrew Wagner loves to come and piss in everyone's Cheerios, which is why I love him. He's a hilarious character. And honestly, good perspective. Like of all the Brewers beat guys, you're going to get a different take from all of them. Andrew is his own symphony playing his own song, which is why I love him. But if you were to have Andrew Wagner on, let's say, the day before the MLB trade deadline, he'd say something. Fans just think, well, go get an arm, go get a bat. Well, it's not that easy. You need other teams to be selling those arms and a bat. Takes two to tango, right? Blah, 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 blah. So in order for the Colts to go for it the way that they did, or in order for the Cowboys to be aggressive the way that they did, acquiring Quinnen Williams, you need a partner. And the Jets obliged yesterday. And thank God for the Jets. I think their talent was overrated. I think Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner and to a lesser degree, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are overrated. I read you this tweet yesterday from Albert Breer, and if you missed that portion of the show, I'll read it again. He tweeted, the new Jets brass is basically telling you that the talent they inherited was overrated. Whether that's true or not is a matter of opinion, but dealing off 2 of your 3 highest paid players at 27 and 24 years old screams that. Basically, the front office of the Jets said, these players are nice, but they're overrated in our building. They're not going to help us get to where we want to go. So we're going to trade him off. Overrated on the Jets. Maybe Sauce Gardner won't be overrated on the Colts. I think they overpaid, but if he's really good, whatever. Quinnen Williams is really good. I don't know that he'll help the Cowboys get where they're trying to go, but I know for a fact he wasn't helping the Jets get there. And I know Sauce Gardner wasn't helping the Jets get there, or they weren't doing enough. Whether they weren't helping, that makes it seem like Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams weren't trying, although I think maybe part of that was true for Sauce Gardner. I made mention of this last night. Again, allow me to hammer this one more time. Screw the Jets. I'm glad they were partners in the deadline yesterday, and they allow us to get some trades and to get some moves to talk about. And now there's a better player on the Colts or better player on the Cowboys. That's interesting. But screw the Jets. Lots of sharp football analysts. I won't say nerds. It's derogatory. I'll just say sharp football analysts will praise the Jets this week and say what the Jets did was brilliant. Selling off expensive players that weren't helping them win, getting picks, amassing, I believe they have 5 total first-round picks between this year and next year in the first round, I believe. Sure, that's great. I just think if you're singing the Jets' praises for amassing all of these picks, you're kind of missing the point. The Jets have had lots of picks in the past. The Dolphins had a haul like this, by the way, in 2020 and 2021. And they drafted Tua and Jalen Waddle and a bunch of crap that really didn't help them ever do anything. They're not terrible. They're not as bad as the Jets. But when you say, well, they got 5 first-round picks. Okay, sure. If you tell me the Lions or the Niners or the Rams or the Packers, if you tell me some of these good organizations have a lot of picks in the upper rounds, sure. The Jets, man, screw the Jets. This is Mark Schofield earlier. He joins Bill every Wednesday at noon from SB Nation. He's really good. They do a look around the league. This is Mark Schofield, 60 seconds on him sharing his take on what the Jets did.
Winners, I think I put the Jets in that sort of winner category, but with a caveat. I always love, Bill, when a team has a plan. has a plan, whether it's a game plan on how to attack an opposing offense or defense, or a plan on sort of turning around their roster, because they've realized that, look, what we have right now in this building, we have some pieces, but the whole picture is not working. We've got to go in a different direction. So those two trades to give yourself 5 first-round picks in the next two drafts, I love that. I think that's a very good move. But I said there's a caveat to that. Caveat is this. You're now going to get those picks right.
Right.
You trade away Sauce Gardner, you trade away Quentin Williams, you get this draft capital in the building. That's great. But now the real work begins, because you've got to get those picks right. And there's a bit of that sort of, to make a Family Guy reference, that mystery box element to it where, you want to get some young, talented players in the building with those picks. Well, you had 2 pretty young, talented players and you just let them walk. So it's good what they did. I'd say they won this, but it comes with that caveat. You've got to now go out, get those picks right.
So I'll add another caveat onto that caveat. It's not enough to get the picks right. That's not enough. That's like the first step is getting the picks. The second step is getting the picks right. The third step, which is what so many of these trash organizations can't get right, even when they pick the right players, is use those players to then win football games. Because you could argue the Jets have done similar things in the past where they have amassed plenty of draft picks high in the first and the second round, and they've picked good players like Sauce Gardner and like Quentin Williams. Those are good players. Garrett Wilson's a good player. Breece Hall is fine. He's not a bad player. I wouldn't write books about what a great draft pick that was, but he's a fine player. The Jets have picked plenty of good players. So when you say, well, the Jets, now they got to pick the right guys. They've picked the right guys. They've shown the ability to do that. What sets apart organizations like the Jets or the Dolphins or the Titans or the Browns, another good example, these are teams that have proven that they can tear it down, amass picks, and pick good players. Step 1, step 2. That third step, hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. And then there's teams like the Rams or the Niners. The Rams have traded away a lot of picks. I believe their general manager once famously said, F them picks. The Niners, I don't know if you've noticed, they miss a lot of draft picks. A lot of draft picks. Solomon Thomas was a top 5 pick, I believe. Never amounted to anything. Career journeyman now, right? Trey Lance. Not only did they spend a top 5 pick on Trey Lance, they burned a couple picks to move up and take him. Ricky Pearsall, we'll see. Lots of guys like that where it's like, the Niners miss a lot of picks. The Rams have traded away picks, and yet those organizations win because it's not just about nailing every draft pick or getting the most draft picks. There's a lot more to it than that. And the more that time passes, the more I appreciate teams like the Packers or the Steelers or the Ravens, that those teams, it's so easy in sports in 2025 to say, well, just tank. Just tank, get good picks, get good players, draft your star quarterback. And I used to think, well, if the Packers ever need to, they can just go to the bottom and tank and draft their quarterback. Like we've seen other teams do, or the Steelers. Why don't the Steelers just blow it up and tank and go draft their quarterback? Or the Ravens in the past. The Ravens have not been faced with this because they draft Lamar Jackson. By the way, where did they draft Lamar Jackson? The end of the first round. After what, 85% of the league? I don't know the math on that. 85% of the league said, no thanks, don't need him, don't want him. It's so easy to say, well, just tank. Get good draft picks, get your star quarterback, and then build it back up. Okay, you know what? You first. Go ahead. Because the second that you decide as an organization we are going to lose on purpose in the best interest of going to get our quarterback, you put yourself in a hole. It's a really difficult hole to dig out of. And I referenced a couple of examples yesterday where it's like, well, what about the Texans, Grant? They went down there and got C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud seems like a very nice quarterback. He's not the type of guy who is the end-all, be-all, fix-it, everything. The Commanders, well, they got Jaden Daniels. Problem solved. Really? Look at their roster right now. And Jaden Daniels is hurt again. There are maybe 1 or 2 quarterbacks every decade where it's like, hey, if you draft that guy, you're just set. You're just good. Mahomes, Luck. Other than that, what would Trevor Lawrence look like maybe if he got drafted by an organization that doesn't suck balls historically? I'm not telling you he'd be an MVP. I bet he'd be winning some games, right? It's just so easy to say, well, sell off all your pieces, get good draft picks, tank, build it back up. Okay, you first, because any loser organization can get to the top of the draft, and any loser organization, the Browns and the Jets both have shown that they can take good players. It's that next step. getting good players, and then winning. And once you make that decision that you're going to go to the bottom and you're going to start losing, it's really hard to then revert. Even good organizations, even winning organizations, when you sell your soul to go tank, it's not as simple as, okay, well, in a year or two, we'll just be good again. Okay. Whatever you say, even if you draft good players, even if you get a quarterback that's somewhat good, it's a lot harder than that. So a little commentary on the trade deadline yesterday, which is why, everyone's ripping the Cowboys. I don't know. The Cowboys have been a little clunky. They're a little bit of a circus. They aggressively acquired a good player, and we're mocking them. But the Jets are geniuses for what they did. And blow it out your butthole with that take. I don't like that take. On the Packers, before we go to break, because this is kind of what I want to open up, and I figured maybe we could discuss this. I wasn't really expecting the Packers to make a move yesterday. We didn't even really discuss it. Never really came up. And now, 24 hours later, I'm wondering, well, was that a mistake? Should we have had higher expectations? Should we have demanded more urgency from the Packers? Should they have been more willing to deal and to make moves, even if it means overpaying a little bit? It's so easy to have the take at the trade deadline. Well, the Packers probably won't do anything, or the Brewers probably won't do anything unless there's a perfect deal for them. Well, chances are there's not going to be a perfect deal. It's like going to an auction. Like, chances are you're going to get in a bidding war with someone. And it used to drive me nuts watching Storage Wars when it would be Daryl. Daryl would pull his hair out. It's like, well, I'll spend $8,000 on this unit, but I draw the line at $825. It's like, hey, man, sometimes if you got a feeling, you just got to rip it a little bit. Like Barry, say what you want about Barry. He was a kooky old man, but when he fell in love with a locker, he was going for it. He was buying that locker. And then Dave, of course, would just be the prick that made life difficult for everybody else. That's why the show was so great. I always thought Brandy could do better than Jared, by the way. We could talk about this a different time. If your take at every trade deadline is, well, if there's a perfect deal, then sure, but otherwise, well, it's not really how the trade deadline works. And I go back to our conversations following the trade deadline last year. We were talking about cornerback. Funny how that works. Time is a flat circle. We're talking about cornerback again in 2025. My fear last year, I remember this clearly, after the trade deadline, was that this team gets hot, and come December and early January, they're humming, and then you get in a playoff game and you don't have anybody to cover anybody, and you give up 200 yards to an opposing wide receiver one, and you lose because of it. That's my nightmare, and my nightmare is now the same 12 months later. In fact, I think it's worse now. Their current cornerback room is Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, Bo Melton, Kamal Haddon. Let's just call him old KH. Everybody goes by acronyms now anyways. Kevin Burkhart's KB. I watch First Things First. They call Kevin Wilde's KW. That doesn't even sound whatever. Now, to be fair, I actually like Nixon and Valentine fine enough. Doesn't have to be the strength of your team. But, like, you ever hear of a groin injury? Little rolled ankle? They're a slip on a wet patch of grass away from playing Bo Melton at corner right now. And that should terrify you, considering this team just went all in to get Micah Parsons, and they are a Super Bowl or bust team as much as a Super Bowl or bust team exists. So it frustrates me a little that a year later I have the same exact concerns coming out of the trade deadline. Now, I would have hated had they traded what the Colts did for Sauce Gardner. There's got to be some sort of a middle ground. I think this cornerback room stinks. You need a little bit more depth. I know that's what Nate Hobbs is supposed to be. That has not been the case at all. So your thoughts on the trade deadline, anything the Packers did, or I guess more specifically didn't do. I'll take your phone calls next, and we'll work in some commentary from Sam Bruchhaus, who joined Bill earlier today to talk about the Packers. A lot of good nuts and bolts on the Packers offense from both LaFleur and Love. So all of that upcoming, but your phone calls on the other side, if you are interested, it's 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. A couple of texts here before we get to the phone calls. Led the show at the trade deadline. Your thoughts on the Packers and what they didn't do. Like, should we have expected more? Should we have demanded more? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Johnny Cribbage says, love Jesse on Wednesdays. UW football has to have a 5th new quarterback in 5 years and all new wide receivers. I kind of like some of the young wide receivers. What would Carter Smith be, their 4th starter if he plays, or 4th starter, 4th quarterback to enter games this year? Great. Chuck the Dairy Farmer says, I heard the Packers are 1-11 on the first week of November. There's something weird with the time change of daylight savings, too, that I remember being a talking point in years past. I forgot about it. And they lost again the weekend of daylight saving. Kent Davison. Rock and Rick says, I'm getting on the soapbox with Vagabond John. And the others say the Dallas D isn't our downfall. They seem lame on the last drive, but most times we shouldn't be in that situation. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. I'm getting on the soapbox with Vagabond John and saying, other than Dallas, defense isn't our downfall. Oh, I agree with you. No, absolutely not. Their inconsistency has been on offense, 100%. We'll talk more about that as the show goes along. To the phone calls, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Tony from Texas.
Hey, Tony.
So not only are time zones an issue, so is the daylight savings time. I didn't know that.
Any time that clocks are moving forward or backward, Matt LaFleur has typically not fared well. Correct.
Okay. So this one goes out to Uncle Packer and Clemhead. So back in 1989, the Packers had the worst record in the league, and it was the last game of the season. We're playing at the then Phoenix Cardinals, and we won the game, and the Cowboys lost. And the Cowboys drafted Troy Aikman. It's just weird how these trickle-down effects happen. I'm with you on the not tanking, but you know what? It would be so weird if Troy Aikman was a Packer and there would be no Brett Favre, and Packer fans would actually like Buck and Aikman. So it's just weird how those things happen. And I am with you. There is no such thing in tanking in the NFL. I would never tank ever in the NFL.
I just think once you establish organizationally that you're going to lose for better draft picks, you can draft good players. It's not guaranteed, but the Browns, I mean, Tony, the Browns have drafted lots of good players and the Jets have drafted lots of good players. That doesn't get you out of that hole. You have this stink organizationally that you have to shake off. That's really hard to do.
I don't understand how you can have Baker Mayfield and then you trade him or cut him, whatever they did. And then you bring in, what's his name from the Texans?
Deshaun
I
Watson.
forgot his name already, Grant. Yeah, Deshaun Watson. So these organizations are bad for a reason. By the way, that guy owns our Milwaukee Bucks too.
Just cut the check. Just cut the checks, Jimmy. Just keep the money coming. That's fine with me. I think John Horst has earned. Not to get off into the Bucks. I'm I'm not extremely worried about Jimmy Haslam and his contributions these days. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, your point's well taken. Bad organizations make bad moves. And, look at Jerry Jones. I don't know if you ever read that story I told you to read about his $1 billion investment into the oil stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Packers are all business. And I'm actually kind of curious how this Ed Policy thing turns out, because he might be the kind of guy that nudges us forward to what we need. And back to your last point, the Packers did not need to make any moves. They made their huge move before the year. They did plenty in the offseason. If this group can't win, I hate to say it, Dave from Manona's right. It's going to be Matt LaFraud that caused it.
Hey, before I let you go, in the list of reasons that the Cowboys were a dynasty in the 90s, where would you put Troy Aikman? Because remember, they drafted him and they sucked that first year. So, like, you're citing a difference of a game or two in the Cowboys getting a slightly better pick as the reason that, they had Troy Aikman. Like, I kind of feel like the Cowboys were in a spot where they were probably going to figure it out even without Troy Aikman at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. But if you look at back then, they had this thing called the supplemental draft, Grant.
Mm-hmm.
So they drafted a guy named Steve Walsh, who was a Jimmy Johnson guy out of Miami. Troy outplayed him. Troy Aikman, for a stretch, was, if not the top quarterback, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league for about 4 or 5 years. You could say he had a dominant offensive line, a great running back, good receivers. Yes, he had all that. But Troy Aikman, I go back and watch those Packer games. The guy killed us. The guy was accurate. He was a sniper. I actually like Troy. I like everything about Aikman. I love Aikman and Buck. And by the way, can you give me your top 3 play-by-play guys and color guys that you like?
I will do that after I let you go. I appreciate it, Tony. And the Aikman one is interesting. Best boots, Buck and Aikman, Tarico Collinsworth. I don't know. And then they're all the same to me. I'm just not a big Burkhardt Brady guy. It doesn't mean they're bad. Just not my thing. I really loved listening to Greg Olson during the Packer games. It's kind of a bummer because so many people really like Greg Olson. I think he does a really good job. Like he's doing Packers Panthers at noon, and I got to listen to Brady. And another thing, we'll get to this later on the show, maybe. The fact that Brady can clone his dog, and for the most part, people are like, huh, and we move on. Dude, if Aaron Rodgers did that, are you kidding me? It would lead talk shows. That's so weird that he did that. Brady is so he's a lizard person, and we don't talk enough about it. He is freaking weird. And more people just need to constantly, the way he walked. Remember that promo before the Super Bowl where he had like his shirt half tucked and he's like walking and it's like he didn't know how to move his arms? Aikman is now, I didn't watch Aikman. I was born in 98. But I know that a lot of people, maybe not the most reliable narrators on the 90s Cowboys, Packers fans, obviously very jaded against that team, talk about how his running game, his O-line, Michael Irvin, Jimmy Johnson, I don't know that a lot of people were like if you talk to Bears fans or Vikings fans over the last, 15 years of Packers football, it's, man, Aaron Rodgers killed us. Aikman had some good games. If you say it, Tony, I'll believe it. Where I think when I watch highlights and when I read about Troy Aikman, it's like the dude was just kind of wired in a way that I don't know that many modern quarterbacks are. Like, imagine if Kyler Murray had the personality of Troy Aikman. You know what I mean? Like, that dude was an MFer. And maybe sometimes unreasonably so. He's MFing the best O-line in football or the best running back in football. And maybe that was unreasonable for him. To me, it was, if anything, it was like the personality, the way that Aikman was wired. And I really like Aikman now when I listen to him talk but again, I didn't watch him beat my team's butt in for however many years in the mid-90s because I wasn't alive yet. So again, we probably have varying perspectives on that. But the Cowboys, by the way, the Cowboys did not become a contender overnight simply because they drafted Troy Aikman. They did so many different other things. If you watch that Cowboys doc, and again, it's self-promotional, but they did all of these things at the time that were kind of considered unorthodox, right? You didn't just go to college and get Jimmy Johnson back in those days. You didn't trade away an amazing player for a bunch of picks, even if your team wasn't great, right? So again, it's not that the Cowboys tanked. We got Troy Aikman. We're saved. It's not that simple. And we're talking about the NFL trade deadline specifically with the Jets. It's like, well, they got 5 first-round picks the next 2 years. They're set up. Sure, they're set up to have an opportunity to get some nice players. That's like 20% of the battle in the NFL. Drafting nice players gets you to 5 wins. And I know that because the Jets have drafted lots of nice players. Like Will McDonald has been better than Lucas Van Ness, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Garrett Mitchell, Garrett Wilson. All these players have been excellent. And it's netted them nothing. Look at what Sam Darnold's doing now. They're like, nah, I don't need him. Couldn't win with him. Couldn't do anything with him. When you decide as an organization that you are going to suck and you're going to suck and you're going to slip way down to the bottom of the draft, you induce this stench in your building that you're a loser. And the only way that you can get that stench off of you is to start to win and win a lot. And that's a really difficult hole to dig out of. So anytime it's like, well, the Steelers should just tear it down and draft their next guy. Okay, why don't you do that first? Because I've seen a lot of teams sink deep down and never be able to come back. Or it takes years to come back and multiple coaches and multiple general managers. And it's just an absolute mess. I'll take more of your thoughts on this on the other side. We'll break. I also have some awesome commentary from Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, on the Packers, Matt LaFleur's offense, Jordan Love, the strides that both of those two players and contributors need to take for this offense to get where it needs to get to. So I'll play some of that for you on the other side. Also, a little Brewers news from yesterday that we can pick at. And, of course, Jesse Temple in hour number 2.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Appreciate you being here. A couple of texts. Jay Krebs says, yeah, let's trade all the top draft picks. They made their trade. The guys in the room need to grow up. I think you are mocking me. I'm not saying that the Packers should trade all their draft picks. I'm looking around. A year later, by the way, I remember last year's trade deadline thinking, I'm terrified. This cornerback room is very thin. What happens if the offense heats up and it looks like this is a Super Bowl team and then they have no one to play corner? Now, luckily, or unluckily, depending on your point of view, that never happened. They were not a corner away from winning a Super Bowl. But what about this year? Like, what if Micah Parsons and Jordan Love is Sam Bruchhaus, you heard in the intro? What if those two get white hot and then they're trying to cover some of the best wide receivers in football with Bo Melton or Nate Hobbs? And I say this only like, what if Keyshawn Nixon slips and falls, has to miss 2 weeks? Carrington Valentine gets a groin injury, can't play. Happens a lot at corner. You're running backwards, you're cutting, you're slipping. It's late in the year. So I just worry. I got some audio from Sam Bruchhaus. He was on with Bill earlier today. Really, really good. But first, I want to take one call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Kevin from La Crosse?
Kevin. What's going on, Kevin?
Hey, I know you're talking about the Cowboys.
Oh, good.
I'm 67 years old, and I've been a Packer fan my whole life, but I'm not one of these haters on other teams. I don't hate any of the other NFL teams. I want the Packers to win every game, obviously. But
good for you.
The one thing that rubs me the wrong way, and even it happens on TV announcers before games, is the notion that the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. And I've traveled all over the country, luckily, and there's Packer bars everywhere. And I can tell you, I would lay dollar to donuts that there's more Packer bars across the nation than there are Dallas Cowboy bars.
So I would probably agree with you on that, Kevin. This is an interesting call, and I'm going to let you go, and I'll give you my 2 cents on it. I don't understand. Like, I was cutting a piece of audio from Mike Greenberg before the show where he's like, the Dallas Cowboys are not good. And let's be clear here. We talk about them because when we do, our ratings go up. I want to know, like, where are these people? Like, where are the people who's like, hey, turn up, get up, turn the volume up on Get Up. They're talking about Dak. Like, I do question the programming bump. Where are these people? Where are these Cowboy fans? Now, the America's team thing, a lot of people agree with you, Kevin. The Cowboys aren't America's team. It's the Chiefs. It's the Packers. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm telling you that there is not a thing on this planet that I care less about than who owns the designation of America's team. I don't care. I do care a little bit about the first thing. Like what? Well, we got to talk about the Cowboys. It's ratings. Where are these? Is it just a bunch of people in Arkansas and Alabama and Georgia and Florida? Is that where are these people? I actually have noticed a lot less Dallas Cowboys coverage these last 2 years. Like Schottenheimer really isn't all that interesting. I think he's actually been a better coach than a lot of people said, though. The Micah trade got him in the news, and I guess the Quinnen Williams trade will too, but I don't see them being wedged into every morning show segment like I have mostly for my whole life. But everyone says, well, you talk about the Cowboys, the numbers go up, the ratings go up. Where are all these? Did you walk around in your day-to-day life? Do you go to Oakwood Mall in Eau Claire and see Cowboys jerseys everywhere? Now, I understand. It's just an example, figure of speech. I know that they're not targeting people in Eau Claire, but like, where are these people? I don't get it. The America's team thing, whatever. I don't care. No disrespect to you, Kevin. It's just not something that bothers me at all. A couple of sound bites. Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, was on Bill's show earlier today. He was unbelievable. Bill actually messaged me after the interview saying that was effing awesome. It was great. It was one of the best interviews on the show in a while. And I'm going to play you some sound bites here. They're all about a minute long. This is Sam Bruchhaus responding to a question from Bill about the amount of time that the Packers are spending in shotgun versus under center and utilizing play action and the effectiveness of those different decisions and how at times it's slowed the Packers down.
Yeah, I think there's a couple items that stand out to me about exactly what is going on right now. And as you said, they fell in love with shotgun last year. That has not been the case. And typically these Shanahan tree head coaches, play callers are not that way. Typically they like to be under center. They like to be running a lot of play action. And so you really look at what's going on this year and they don't really have an identity. They're kind of in the median of the amount that they're running under center. They're kind of in the median of how effective they are on those plays, but they are quite effective on play action. And so I think the point of emphasis has to be, number one, trying to get the offensive line on the same page in order to get the running game going. They're just not seeing the success that they saw last year. And then moreover, continuing to make strides in the play action game in order to potentially open up the run, number one, and number two, continue to put Jordan Love in places where he can succeed. Now, given right now in terms of EPA per dropback, this team is performing well over the season. However, we are just starting to see the inconsistencies crop up, particularly given some injuries. And the question is, can this be sustained? I think with an increased amount of passes, a little less reliance or stubborn stickiness to the screen game and the running game, and a slight move continuing towards being under center. I think those are kind of the solutions that are on the table for the Packers right now.
So some numbers that Sam sent me, the Packers are under center at a rate of 35%, which is 13th. So basically the middle of the league, a little bit better than middle of the league. Their EPA per play on under center play action. And I don't know how you dictate like, well, shotgun, but they fake the handoff. I'm talking about good old fashioned, the quarterback's ass is in, or the quarterback's hand is under the ass of the center. I'm talking about EPA per play action drop back. The Packers are third best in football. Like they're really good at it. When they do it at an average level. So as you're going to hear Sam, as I play you more of these clips, you're going to hear Sam kind of say, well, I would up that a little bit, up the things that are working, lower the things that aren't working, and profit. Here's a question and answer. Bill asking, is Matt LaFleur protecting Jordan Love by the way that he's calling these games?
Ironically, the superpower of this offense, or the superpower of Jordan Love in particular, has been the ability to not get sacked. And that's really more of a quarterback stat. The question is, are they protecting him and allowing him to pass down the field? And I think in recent weeks, that's been a little bit more of a question. It's always a shock when you see Jordan Love getting sacked. And currently they sit on the season at fourth in sack rate. About 4% of all plays include a sack. And I'm not going to say that this is a crisis. I'm not going to say that this is absolutely terrible and that it's one of the worst offensive lines in the league and all that. But when you're trying to compete in an NFC, that's an absolute bloodbath. I mean, you mentioned some of the top offenses in the league. The Seahawks are performing at an extremely high level. The 49ers continue to win games. The Rams are the best EPA per play offense and one of the best EPA per play defenses right now. And that's not even considering the Philadelphia Eagles, the Lions. You said the Bears as well. The Bears are starting to ascend. Like, the NFC is going to be an absolute bloodbath. And you are going to have an offense that is firing on all cylinders at all times. And that's just not what we're seeing from the Green Bay Packers.
And a lot of that is the state of the offensive line. He goes on to talk about that. This offensive line is not good. We can talk a little bit more about that. I have some details and we all have eyes. We're seeing it. But here's Sam on the state of the Packers O-line.
In our Sumer scores, we currently only have one offensive lineman over the 70th percentile, and they are under the 75th percentile. So basically what that means is we only have one impact starter right now on the Green Bay offensive line. You have to be better than that. I mean, you look at the Lions, you even look at the Seahawks now that they've added Gray's Abel and some other people, and those guys have excellent offensive linemen operating at a very high level. That's just not what we've seen from the Green Bay Packers yet. I think that's why we don't have the complementary run pass offense that we've seen in past years.
So I think up until this point in the season, we've had lots of conversations about, well, the offensive line just hasn't played together. They've been injured. They've been shuffling guys around. They've been rotating Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan at right guard. Aaron Banks has missed time. Zach Tom has missed time. They just need some continuity because the offensive line is the position group on the field that's most based and most anchored in continuity. It's a very big part of it. That's why, anytime that you're talking about a bad team, you'll typically hear referenced on broadcasts. They've used X number of O-line combinations. It's near the top of the league. That's always a huge red flag. And good teams, especially teams with good pass protection, good running game, right? Teams that are thought of strong offensively, they've used XYZ number of O-line combinations. That's the fewest in football, right? It's a good thing. I am less convinced as the season progresses that the Packers' struggles on the O-line are completely and totally based in continuity. And I'm starting to become more convinced that they just have a bunch of linemen that aren't that good. Like, I don't think Jordan Morgan right now is very good. And I never thought that Sean Ryan is very good. But Sean Ryan has never had to be a stud because they've always had a really good right tackle, and Elton Jenkins has been great, and it hasn't really, they've never looked to Sean Ryan to be like, man, you need to be our guy. He's just needed to be Sean Ryan, which he's been very effective at. Rasheed Walker is fine, but he's not David Bakhtiari. So you go down the line, and it's like, well, Zach Tom's great, but he's hurt. Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan both kind of stink. Aaron Banks stinks or is missing, which means you need to play both of Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan. Elton Jenkins has been such a disappointment at center, which again, like, pardon me for saying this, maybe he could have used some offseason work at the position instead of getting the cops called at a strip club and then missing training camp because he's bemoaning his contract. And I know he had a back injury. I know, whatever. Rasheed Walker's just kind of Rasheed Walker. Again, Rasheed Walker can't be your best O-lineman or you're going to have a bad O-line. The more we watch this team, the less convinced I'm that it's a continuity issue. And it's just, I think they have a bunch of O-linemen that just aren't that good, which is concerning considering they paid a big contract this offseason in free agency and spent a first-round pick on another last year. Like, it should be better than this. And they're an organization that knows what they're doing with O-line. Like, it should be better than this. 608-321-1670. More from Sam Bruchhaus as the show goes on. But let's take a call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Ron in Jersey. How are you guys?
Hey, Ron. I'm excellent. How about you?
Good, man. I'm a little triggered with this Cowboy stuff.
Okay.
The Aikman stuff. I have a strong take on that. Well,
please.
An opinionated take, maybe not strong, but I feel Aikman is the most overrated Hall of Famer in the Hall of Fame.
And I think there would be lots of people that agree with you on that sentiment on some level.
And like, let's just put this in perspective. His best season throwing touchdowns, he threw 23 touchdowns. Jordan Love in his rookie year threw 32 touchdowns, 9 more. Now, you can say you can't compare eras. You can't compare the early 90s to the 2020s. But Favre played in the era that Aikman played in. And
he slung it.
Yeah, Aikman's best year was 23 touchdowns. His second best year was 19. Favre's worst year with the Packers, he threw 18 touchdowns. So his worst year equated to Aikman's, second best year. Aikman was a game manager. He had the best offensive line in football. He had Emmitt Smith averaging like 5 yards a carry. Most of those were without being touched because his offensive line was so good. He had really good receivers. He had a really good tight end, and he had a really good defense. So he got a lot of possessions and was playing, so yeah, that's my take, that Aikman is the most overrated Hall of Famer in the Hall of Fame.
Well, and the reason we're talking about this is because we're talking about teams selling off parts, tanking like the Jets have done, because yesterday was the trade deadline. And Tony's point was, well, it worked for the Cowboys. They were a couple picks ahead of the Packers, and they ended up with Aikman, and then they beat our ass. I don't think Aikman was the reason that happened. That's why we're talking about this. I think Aikman was a nice piece, but he did not transform that organization overnight. Like so many people say, well, you just got to suck and draft, and then you pick your quarterback and you're good. And it rarely, if ever, is that simple.
Yeah, you mentioned it, that trade when they traded Herschel Walker for like 20 draft picks. I mean, that was the most lopsided trade. I'm going to have to look that up and research how much they actually got haul. But that was the biggest haul I'd ever seen for a player, where the Vikings just gave him everything for Herschel Walker. I think that trade had more to do with it than Aikman or Emmitt Smith or any other draft pick that the Cowboys made.
So I would agree with you. I mean, I just think it's an organizational thing. Big Ron, I appreciate the call. I love the Cowboys side quest that we're on today. I don't think Aikman is evidence that you really need to tank to get the top pick so you can take your guy. Winning organizations will figure out a way to win, and they will draft good players and select good players and develop them well. So many of these teams, the Jets, the Browns, just keep sucking and drafting, and eventually it's going to well, no, it's not. Because at some point you have to stop losing. So that's why everyone's praising the Jets, hating on the Cowboys. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'd rather be the team that's getting better players and winning more than 4 games a year and not going to the bottom of the draft again for the billionth straight year. Let's take a break. A little bit more from Sam Bruchhaus on the other side. We can do a hard reset at 5 o'clock, some Brewers news that's probably worth discussing as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, presented by Lacrosse Beer House today. Beautiful day today, beautiful evening. Looks like it's maybe going to get crummier this weekend. Would be an excellent opportunity to get down to downtown Lacrosse corner of 3rd and Pearl. Get a big mug of German beer, hang out with some coworkers, or get away from coworkers. Meet up with people you actually like, you want to spend time with. I'm lucky enough that my coworkers are also my best friends and also my family. Gosh, I love Zach and Ebo and Kate and Bill so much. Lacrosse Beer House, like their page on Facebook. Sometimes they got live music and things going on down there. Always appreciative of their support of the show. Would like for you to support them as a thank you. I would appreciate it. We're just listening to a little bit of Sam Bruchhaus here. We're going to get back into that after 5 o'clock. A little bit of Brewers news. This got people hot under the collar. I've been complicit in the reaction to this in the past, but they made some roster moves yesterday. Rhys Hoskins mutual option declined. The anti-Ryan Russillo. Yep. I think they're going to turn that one down. Jose Quintana mutual option declined by club. I got to say, Jose Quintana is nothing but not consistent. I have never once enjoyed playing against him, and at no point at all this entire summer did I ever enjoy watching him pitch. So you will not be missed. Best of luck in the future. And his final act as a Brewer was to surrender, or kick off, I should say, one of the worst performances, one of the worst games I've ever seen a team play in the playoffs, which was Game 4 against the Dodgers when Shohei Ohtani turned Quintana into a batting practice machine. So that was nice. The thing that has everyone hot and bothered is they declined William Contreras' club option, which I believe was $12 million. Now, the Brewers included on the graphic wisely that he remains under club control. This is not them cutting him loose. This is they're going to take him to arbitration because they feel that they will pay him less that way. And I used to get bothered by these sorts of things. And I used to get mad. I said, how dare they do this to Corbin Burns over $800,000 on Valentine's Day, no less? How dare they take him away from his wife? And if she's anything like him, I'm sure they're great at parties. I used to get so mad about this. And then I watched Corbin Burns pitch in the postseason against the Diamondbacks. I said, you know what, dude? Screw you. I don't like any of these players. Now, I don't have strong opinions about William Contreras at this time. But if the Brewers can save $800,000, that's a relief pitcher, baby. Throw that in the coffers. Hell yeah, let's go to arbitration. And I hope the Brewers go into arbitration and said, hey, man, what's going on with your hand? Throw that in his face. Save a couple of bucks. And for all the Brewers fans on Twitter, look, I got the Brewers tweet right in front of me. I will read some of the top replies here. This one says, this account says, Heather for Trump at Bree Army Brat. Seriously, Contreras better stay. I'm tired of this owner. It's hard to get behind this team I love because of him. Big William Contreras fan. This one just says cheap ass. Mark Ignacio. Let's see here. This one says extend bill for 17 years? Question mark. If they extend Contreras, I'll be so mad. This one says, here we go again. You better have a market level extension offer to Contreras ready. If the cheapskate owner has declined his option for $900K, you won't hear the end of it. We'll probably hear the end of it. Let's get one more good one here. Let's see. Declined Contreras' option over $900K. Ownership is weak and refuses to spend money. Contreras will walk as soon as he hits the free agent block. Well, hopefully they'll trade him before then, for the record. But it's ridiculous ownership doesn't pay one of the pillars of this team, especially over $900K. $900K. Look, Brewers fans, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news for those of you who don't already understand it. I'm sure a lot of you already do, but for the rest of you, let me be very clear on this. $900K is a lot of money to our owner. Functionally, that is a lot of money to him. He does not have that much relative to other owners. So to say, well, wipe your ass with $900K. Mark Ignacio does not. Let me assure you. So get over it. William will be fine. And, he'll be gone as soon as free agency hits. Well, hopefully we trade him before then. Get something back for him. Hour number 2 coming up next. We'll get back to the Packers.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers back in the field tomorrow to start preparing for their matchup with Philadelphia on Monday night. The Eagles are 6-2, tied for the best record in the NFC. Packers a half game back at 5-2-1 on the year. Philly was active at the trade deadline, acquiring pass rusher Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins and a couple of defensive backs, including former Packers All-Pro Jair Alexander. Again, it'll be the Packers and Eagles next Monday night. Turn to the Badgers. They will host number 24 Washington on Saturday at Camp Randall. Badgers rushing attack has not been very good this year, as they're averaging under 4 yards per carry, but it got a little bit of a jolt with getting into Tuca back there against Oregon, ran for 85 yards, and with injuries in the room, likely to get even more chances this week. Here's Coach Luke Fickell.
And he's done a really good job, and he'll have to continue to grow. And, again, that's another one of those things when all of a sudden put in this situation, it's a little bit different. And that's where his growth will be important for all of us. Sometimes you just get thrust in there, not expecting to be the guy to, carry the load when you are expected to be the guy to carry the load. There are some things that are a little bit different.
Again, it'll be the Badgers and Huskies on Saturday. Kick is at 3:30.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs are getting a day off after splitting their back-to-back with a win at Indiana and a loss at Toronto last night. Back in action on Friday with the Bulls in town. And the Badgers back at practice, getting ready for a visit from Northern Illinois, also coming up on Friday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
I think the reality of the Green Bay Packers is they are who they were last year, plus Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons is a generational player who can change playoff series. I mean, you think of those Giants teams in the 2000s that won the Super Bowl, they did it behind generational pass rushers. So you get a hot Jordan Love, you get a hot Micah Parsons, you can win playoff games certified. I just don't know if they are as consistent as some of the best teams in the NFC. The good news is the NFC doesn't have any of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So a Micah Parsons, a Jordan Love coming together at the right time means that they can go ahead and win the NFC.
I think it's inconsistent. We've had games where we played very well, put up a lot of points. We've had games where we have not put up enough points. It's just inconsistent. We've got to find ways to keep building on it, keep going on the things we're doing well, and clean up a lot of mistakes.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, I want to reset with the Packers. Jesse Temple, Talk Badgers here at 5:35. But I got to read this tweet or this text from Jay Krebs on the Brewers and about Contreras and the Brewers. It would seem headed to arbitration. He texts in, I love this show so much. He texted this, in the wise words of Kevin McAllister, I'd rather lick a toilet seat than not take every player to arbitration. It's the best thing in professional sports. You get to tell them to their face why they shouldn't get paid. It's hilarious. Yeah, part of me wishes it kind of existed in the NBA. You know what I mean? I think the NFL, for the most part, is reasonable enough with their pay scale. If you're close to the top of your position group, you reset the market. And maybe the quarterback thing gets a little silly. But in the NFL, like Jaylen Brown never becomes the top paid player in football, right? Now, you could argue that like Trevor Lawrence did or whatever, but Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback. Like if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. That position and its, commensurate value doesn't really exist in other sports, most notably in basketball. I love arbitration. The older I get, I love it. It's like, oh, you want to reset the market? Yeah, let me and my lawyers tell you exactly why that's not going to happen, buddy. We're gonna settle on a fair number. It's honestly maybe the most accurate way to establish a salary figure for a professional athlete. So I don't want to hear you crying over how arbitration is mean to the player and then turn around in the NBA or the NFL. It's like, he's getting paid how much? I don't know. Let's get in a courtroom. Let the lawyers figure it out then. Hell yeah. You get to tell them to their face why they shouldn't get paid. It's hilarious. I kind of think it is. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. All right. Thank you for holding on. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. This is Mad Max.
Hey, Max. What's going on? In the Racine tunnels?
Yeah, well, I'm not in the tunnels right now. I'm actually driving east on 94 into the newly autonomous DOT zone that will that'll be going on for about 4 or 5 years. So we'll see how that goes.
Sure, just a couple more lanes.
Yeah, it just that's all it takes, right? But I actually wanted to comment on how you mentioned Tom Brady and his dog earlier, and how everyone's just like, wait, you can do that to your dog? I mean, that's so weird that he's cloning his dog. But I just wanted to point out that as Brewers fans, we're totally familiar with that concept with all the years we dealt with Hank the dog and his 6, 7 clones, however many he had. But yeah, I mean, just God rest Hank's soul. We'll see him in Valhalla someday. But yeah, with the clones, I mean, we're just with cloning dogs and and sometimes humans too. I mean, that's what the elites. That's one of the many things the elites do down in the Racine tunnels, and just something that I'm trying to spread awareness of. And why do you think Foxconn built that big dome off I-94? They needed a whole new lab to clone pets and entertainment figures and politicians, and I'm just trying to spread awareness, Grant.
Is that what Glenn Grothman's doing down there too?
If there's a buffet down there, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's a good call, Max. Safe driving through the what did he call it? The DOT autonomous zone. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the news that Tom Brady had cloned his dog, one of my first thoughts was the Brewers did do this first. Now, maybe their replacement of Hank, the great replacement of Hank the dog, was maybe that was just a body double and less of a clone. Because let's be honest. And if you have one of these dogs, I mean, no offense, all the little white dogs with crap in their eyes might as well be the same. Apologies again if you own one of those dogs. But I feel like you could swap those out and no one's investigating there. Can we be honest? The fact that Tom Brady cloned his dog, and he didn't just clone his dog. We didn't just learn that he cloned his dog. We learned that he did it in partnership with some freaky new company that probably uses the blood. It probably uses the blood of the bodies that they got down in the Racine tunnels that Max is talking about. Like that whole thing just reeks. And if we learned that Aaron Rodgers did that, he'd be barbecued on television for years. And I would just like to say, and I'm no staunch, I'm not Ebo, where it's like everything that Aaron Rodgers does, I think is awesome. I do occasionally have some things where I roll my eyes with Aaron Rodgers. If we learned that he cloned his dog, it would be like Pablo Torre would do a 4-part podcast on it, and the nation would be like, that's terrible. But Brady does it, and we're all like, oh, okay, ho-hum. He looks like a lizard person. He's not real. And more people need to talk about it. It's sad. It's sad. It really is. He could have just retired and been the GOAT and for the most part existed in anonymity like Michael Jordan. And when he appears publicly, it's, oh my God, there's Michael Jordan. You see Michael Jordan was on NBC. Now we're just Brady stuffed down my face with his awkward little TikToks and his weird things that he does on Fox. He's a lizard person, and he's cloning his dog, and he kisses his kids on the lips, and it's all weird. And yet Aaron Rodgers he's the pariah. He's the weirdo. I won't have it. Thank you for the call, Max. Another call here. I God only knows where this is going to go. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell. Hey, can I read you a text that I got 10 minutes ago? Coyote Mike said,
sure.
Grant, where's Darnell the chump Ben? Seems like I've not heard him in the mornings or on your show, or am I wrong? Always, I like to hear his opinions. So, Coyote Mike, here he is.
All right, I appreciate that. It's just been a busy time, and actually, that's one of the reasons I'm calling. What's your opinion on daylight savings time?
I'll be honest, I don't care what happens in the winter as long as I get my 8, 9 p.m. sunsets in the summer. Protect that. Do whatever you need to do to protect that. I'll suffer through the winter. It's fine.
So what you're saying is, like, we don't need, in your opinion, we don't need to change it so that the sun goes down at 4:30 in December instead of 5:30.
I'm not a scientist. I don't know what's connected to what. As long as the summer remains the way that it is, I don't care what happens in the winter. Is one contingent on the other?
No, I was just saying that with as the proud owner of a young human these days, their sleep is very much based upon the sun and when it comes up. And now that the sun comes up at
circadian rhythms, etc.
Yeah. Now the sun's up at 6:30, so is a young man. which means that mom and dad are also up at 6:30 instead of 7 or 7:15 or whatever it might be. And I am actually a little bit frustrated with that, just because that means that it's less time to get ready in the morning before the young one wakes up and is doing his thing and requiring supervision and whatnot. So
I don't mind it being dark in the morning. I don't mind driving on the Beltline at 6:45, 7:15 and just have that soft, real pinkish, bluish light. I don't mind it. I don't mind. Who's ever happy getting up in the morning? Like, show me the person that was miserable last week and all of a sudden is exploding out of bed with joy just because the sun comes up an hour earlier. Like, I don't think it's that impactful, personally.
Well, also, I saw a counter argument that said, well, we actually need daylight savings because the kids that go to school and have to learn in the dark, that's not going to be great. Well, I'll tell you what, I just get randomly depressed leaving work at 4:45 and the sun's already down. That's terrible to me.
Yeah, and you're the one responsible for raising those kids.
Of course.
You are a father, after all.
Let them learn in the dark at 7:15 if that's when they have to go into school, which is, by the way, just terrible that we're sending elementary kids to school at 7:15. That is a whole different subject. But I figured I'd call and say something about that, considering right now I'm on my way home and it's dark basically, and it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm looking out the studio window through Zach's office window. It's dark. Darnell, I appreciate it. The thing is I'm here until 6. Whether it gets dark at 4:45 or 5 or 6. If it's dark at 6, it might as well be dark at 3. I don't know. Just protect my summers. Protect my summer nights. That's all I need. The rest of the year, I don't care. I could live in Alaska the rest of the year. I want to be able to leave work in June and still have 3 hours of light. If you can give me that, the rest of the year, do what you want. I don't really care all that much. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us?
Hey, Grant. It's Clemhead Mike.
Hey, Clemhead. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Outstanding.
Yes, you are. I've been really enjoying all these off-topic things that you're discussing tonight.
No kidding.
Daylight savings time, keep it all year round. Should always be daylight savings time. It's safer driving home at night when it's light out and the kids are getting on the bus.
So when you say
it's
keep
gonna be
it,
dark one side or the other. So
you want to keep it the way that it is in the summer?
Yep.
Okay, and just not change it. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Because I'll do a Pete here. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah.
When you'll come at 5 p.m. Yeah, I'll. But I want to, and the main reason I called is I just want to agree so much with Big Ron's call about Troy Aikman, most overrated Hall of Fame quarterback ever. Except I don't want to get too harsh with him because Joe Namath threw for 51% completion percentage in his career. He had more interceptions than touchdowns. And Terry Bradshaw, I think he threw for 53%. He had nearly as many interceptions as touchdowns. Neither of their numbers are that great, but they won Super Bowls. So Troy Aikman's going in the Hall of Fame because he won Super Bowl. Eli Manning wasn't that great during the regular seasons in his career, but he won 2 Super Bowls. It's just Joe Montana's stats during regular seasons weren't that great. He always came through in playoffs. It's a lot of great memories that determine who's a Hall of Famer, not raw stats. But yeah, Troy Aikman. My son brought those stats up to me. Best year was 23 touchdowns. I said, yeah, but Emmitt Smith probably ran for 30 that year. So
well, yeah,
he didn't have to. He was a game manager. He was a maximum game manager.
He was the leader of a dynasty too. And Clem had all of a sudden we got loaded phone lines. So God only knows what these phone calls are going to be about. He was the leader of a dynasty attached to a big brand. So that's going to carry some weight too. They didn't throw as many touchdowns back then. They didn't pass for as many yards. You got to factor that in as well. I'm not here to defend Troy Aikman. I never brought this topic to the table tonight. My whole point was sucking and drafting, getting your quarterback doesn't fix everything, which stems from what the Jets did yesterday when they traded away all of their good young players to get more draft picks. And everyone's like, great, that's smart building. Okay, well then you must love what the Browns have been doing too, because that's what they've been doing like my whole life. It's never worked because they're a crappy organization, just like the Jets. Yeah, keep it, whatever we have in the summer, just keep that and keep that the rest of the year if you want, or do what we do now. I don't really care. I need it to be light outside in the summer or God only knows. Wisco Sports Show, who's us?
All you sheep complaining about daylight savings, having the government tell you what time it is, crawling into your 2003 Yukon, changing the clock because big government said so. I feel bad for you guys.
Cone roller, of course, you live in Arizona, so of course you have you found a way. I mean, In Arizona, why would you need it? And also, why do we need it here? They have lights on tractors and we have headlights now. Like, I don't know. Are we still living by the book of Ben Franklin?
Oh, I mean, look at New York. I would say no.
Yeah, you are correct. The one thing that annoys the hell out of me about daylight saving time is that every politician seemingly wants to talk about it, and no one's ever gonna do anything with that. So can we just all agree to set that to the side? It's obnoxious to me.
Well, yeah, bigger issues to worry about.
Yeah, well,
who's going in what bathroom, and so on.
Yeah, we also won't do anything about that, but at least it feels like maybe we could. So I guess that's where I stand on the voting issues today. You have any elections in Arizona?
We had some school board referendums, the usual, nothing too, crazy. But as a tax-paying citizen, it was my, God-given right to vote.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you exercised it. This was discussed heavily on the morning show this morning. I don't know that I need to get into the mayoral election of New York. Jokes in passing I'll allow. They're kind of funny, but I don't know. I was watching. Go ahead.
I was just going to bring up King of Queens.
Of course.
Who would they vote for? I mean, Arthur's got to be a Sliwa guy, right?
I think so. Yeah. And his character in Seinfeld would have voted for him too. Like he's party lines no matter which character he's playing. So I tweeted about this. This is why Cones bring this up. I was watching King of Queens last night. They had an Everybody Loves Raymond crossover. And I was wondering on Twitter this morning who Doug Heffernan would vote for, but I think his union would probably have something to say about that.
Yeah, true. But I think he follows what Carrie says. I mean, she had him by the whatever, that whole show. So
I love the dynamic. I appreciate that, Cone. As soon as I heard your voice, I'm like, okay, now we're going to get it from Arizona's point of view on daylight saving time. I loved that dynamic of the sitcom of that era. Everybody Loves Raymond and King of Queens, where it's just like the dopey guy who just wants to golf and watch sports and get laid occasionally, and the wife who's just like never having any of it. I mean, you could make 100 seasons of both of those shows. I'd watch it all. But yeah, TV Land last night, the late NBA game wasn't doing it for me. The Bucks game absolutely didn't do it for me. So I'm like, all right, what else is on? I thought like, oh, I'll watch some news. How did the elections go? And then I'm like, all right, do I watch Fox, CNN? Like, which one of these do I throw on? And I'm like, the idea of all of them repulse me. TV Land. King of Queens. There we go. And it was the episode where, Ray and Deborah come over because Doug and Ray want to watch the football game, but there's no way they can do it unless they like have the wives around. But the idea is, well, the wives will bond and then we'll sneak off to watch the football game. But the problem is, and you could see it coming a mile away, is the wives bonded over not liking their husbands. And then it became an issue for Doug and Raymond. 3-minute break. There's 15 minutes that I didn't expect to do on daylight saving, but here we are. Jesse Temple will save the show at some point. At the very latest, the show will get back on track at 5:35. A couple of you on hold. I want to make sure that I give you your fair shakes and your fair time. So we'll do this after the break. Please hold on.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Inquiring minds on the live stream want to know, yes, the huddle is coming up at 6 o'clock. I will be here for the huddle. We'll make our picks. We'll hear from Mike Clemens. We'll laugh. We'll cry. We'll do all the huddle things that we normally do on Wednesday nights. So looking forward to that. Yes, I will be in this chair until 8. So for those of you asking, what's going on with the huddle? You sticking around? Yes, I am. Which, when I play you this interview for Jesse Temple coming up in about 10 minutes, or with Jesse Temple, I'm going to go make my dinner or microwave my dinner. Which will be some mix of cottage cheese and some other things in my lunchbox. I'm going to get a little creative. It's like Chipotle if none of the ingredients made sense. That's kind of what we're going for tonight. 608-321-1670. Thank you for waiting through the break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, I have a AI overview to read for you.
Okay.
Real quick. You ready for it? Here we go.
Correct, yes.
Considered a good, versatile cornerback who is physical and smart. Through his pro career, he's shown a mix of good and average performance. Praised for his quickness, toughness, solid tackler, currently rated 32nd out of 160 corners in the NFL. This is Roger McCreary, a player that maybe nobody listening knows who he is, but he freaking plays corner, and the Rams picked him up for a 6th-round pick this year.
Correct.
Right before the deadline.
Correct.
And I know you've been high on the Rams as a Super Bowl contender. I did a little research yesterday.
I believe they're my pick to go to the Super Bowl, by the way. I believe I have the Rams over the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game, by the way.
So you'll like this stat, right? 8 out of the last 10 teams to play in a Super Bowl. So the last 5 years went back and just looked. What was their activity around the deadline? What does this look like for a Super Bowl contender, a team that plays in the Super Bowl? 8 of the last 10 made major moves either the week before or on the day of. Some notable ones that fans will remember, right? We got Hardman with the game-winning Super Bowl catch. Obviously, he landed in the Packers. His career is pretty much done now. 49ers that same season added Randy Gregory and Chase Young to cover for Nick Bosa's injury. The year before that, you had the Chiefs adding Kadarius Toney.
Don't say Kadarius Toney.
I'm just going off the...
You said major. You said major moves.
This is the one year where both teams added, I have a note here, rotational players that soaked up snaps, if you will. Bodies that you can throw at practice and throw in the game, right? Year before that, the Rams added Von Miller. Year before that, the Buccaneers added Steve McClendon, who's a name that you might not know, but he's a defensive tackle that I think had 5 tackles with the Packers. Point is, a lot of Super Bowl teams that are in win-now mode, teams that maybe have urgency for competing for championships, make some sort of move in and around the deadline to cover a roster hole. The Rams did so, trading, I think, a 5th-round pick, swapping for a 6th-round pick, and Roger McCreary, the player described at the top of the call. And I just, last night I called and I said, if they pick up Asante Samuel Jr., I'm happy. They haven't done anything yet, and I'm questioning, do we feel the urgency? Is it time to compete for championships, or was that just gas at a podium? So that's my question.
Well, no, and this is why I started the show, Vagabond John. I appreciate it. This is why I started the show today by asking, should we be harder on the Packers right now? Should we be asking why didn't they do anything? Because Brian Gutekunst did say this to, continue or to add to what Vagabond John was saying.
It's time that we start competing for championships.
Rick says in live stream, we will regret giving up 2 first-rounders for Parsons. I doubt that. Unless, I don't even want to put the word, unless something happens. The I word. I don't think they'll regret giving up 2 first-rounders.
We need to continue to ramp up our sense of urgency.
I just wonder, they don't need to spend a high pick. McCreary for a 6 to the Rams is, of course, the Rams are smart. They're my Super Bowl pick. I think they do really smart things. My fear coming out of this deadline, I said this last year, a year ago today. What happens if the offense gets hot and the pass rush is cooking, and that situation that I played for you from Sam Bruchhaus that he described where it's that's the Packers win con, right? Jordan Love gets hot, pass rush gets hot. What if those things happen? It's all right, here's a team that can win a Super Bowl, and then they don't have any corners because everybody gets hurt. What if Nixon gets hurt? You're starting Bo Melton unless Nate Hobbs gets healthy, but then you're starting Nate Hobbs, who I think might suck. This is the reality of the Packers. Again, listen to Sam Bruchhaus one more time.
I think the reality of the Green Bay Packers is they are who they were last year, plus Micah Parsons. And
yeah.
Micah Parsons is a generational player who can change playoff series. You think of those Giants teams in the 2000s that won the Super Bowl. They did it behind generational pass rushers. So you get a hot Jordan Love, you get a hot Micah Parsons, you can win playoff games certified. I just don't know if they are as consistent as some of the best teams in the NFC. The good news is the NFC doesn't have any of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So a Micah Parsons, a Jordan Love, coming together at the right time means that they can go ahead and win the NFC.
I also think Stafford is I think Stafford is one of the top quarterbacks. Again, I'm constantly told who we can and can't trust. Stafford is one of 3 guys that we should be able to trust. He's been there, done that. Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford. So I think Stafford is one of the top guys. This is the other soundbite that I wanted to make sure we got in from Sam Bruchhaus, talking about the mix of Jordan Love needing to scramble more, the offense needing to be more aggressive. Just kind of holistically what Sam Bruchhaus, Sumer Sports, again, needs to see from the Packers offense. Let's just leave it there and I'll let it play.
Yeah, I think you look generally at the Shanahan offenses or the Shanahan tree offenses. You look at the Los Angeles Rams, obviously a little different type scenario. Matthew Stafford's an older guy, but extremely low scramble rate. You look at the 49ers now that they have Mac Jones, extremely low scramble rate. And in fact, Brock Purdy, who is an athletic guy and who did scramble at Iowa State, his scramble rate was extremely low until he basically became the entire offense in last season. So I do think this is an element of coaching. And quite frankly, I think the next step more generally for the Packers is just being more aggressive all over the field on the offensive side of the ball. I think they need to throw more. I think they need to go for it more on 4th. I think they need to eliminate some of the screens, getting the ball out there, which are functionally run plays. They're losing expected points on those plays currently this year, and they're kind of in the median of the NFL. We're not really seeing that be an extremely effective tactic for them, and I think they got to go for it more on 4th. I think if you add those 4 elements in coaching and in decision making, you're really going to unlock Jordan Love's potential, and then obviously you got to coach him and get him to kind of take more risks, because there's no bigger pressure probably in sports than being a quarterback in the playoffs. And we have to see him continue to build on his performances in order to get to those playoffs.
So that's interesting to me. Sam says you got to get Jordan Love to take more risks, which I don't know would fit or would match with a lot of the things we've talked about. Here's one more cut. How does Jordan Love find that balance?
I think it's a very, very delicate balance, especially when it comes to gunslingers like Jordan Love. We've seen Josh Allen have years where he has a very high interception total. And some of the criticism this year has been that Joe Brady has made Josh Allen too conservative. And that's why he isn't performing necessarily to the MVP level, despite them still winning games behind an excellent running offense. And so I think it's a very delicate balance. I think you got to take some of the good with the bad. And look, big purview over the season. He's doing extremely well, and he projects to continue doing extremely well. But there's just one more tier that you got to jump up into. And I think, becoming that kind of cerebral pre-snap figure is where he needs to become, and be able to take those check downs within a second of the snap when you're not going to get it, rather than chunking it deep. I think those are the little bit differences that we need to see from
that. To me, was one of the best nuggets of the whole interview. By the way, hour number 2, Bill's podcast earlier today. Go find it. That to me was one of the most interesting nuggets, considering that the offensive line is not firing on all cylinders. Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur looking for big plays. Jordan Love needs to get through his progressions more quickly and realize it's not there, I'm checking it down. Instead of it's not there, I'm waiting. Because that's the difference between 1st and 10 and 2nd and 10, or 1st and 10 and 2nd and 4. And now the defense has to adjust and do things differently. Or, if you really wait, I'm going to try it anyway. Well, now you're putting the ball in harm's way, and now it could be a turnover, a negative play, a sack, a penalty, right? Just getting the ball out more quickly and cleanly, even if it's a check down on a play where it's clear that I guess it's not going to happen here. That's got to happen more quickly. I thought that was a very interesting note on Jordan Love's processing. Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, going to join us next on the other side, and then we'll speed towards 6 o'clock, at which point we'll turn things over to Bill, the Bill Michaels Huddle from 6 to 8. Mike Clemens, Mark Schofield will make our picks, all of that jazz. It's going to be a loaded next 2.5 hours.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse. Jesse. Hey, Jesse. 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 Jesse.
Jesse Temple, Badger Connect in the camp, will be with us momentarily here. The Bill Michaels Huddle coming up in about 20 minutes. So stay tuned for that after this show is done. A lot of these same stations, or you know where to find Bill's show, the live stream. Fire up the Wisco Sports Zone app. I would use that app sooner rather than later. Get your name in the running. Press the Win Stuff button. We got AC/DC tickets to give away. And the Wisco Sports Zone website will do the trick as well. But the app's pretty slick. You can use that to watch all the shows, find all the podcasts, etc., etc., etc. All right, that's enough. Jesse Temple here to talk Badgers. I recorded with him earlier today. Here it is. Jesse Temple is here. You can find his work, Badger Connect. So much good content. The written word, yes, that's what you've come to expect from Jesse from all these years of his coverage, but also the Badger Bites videos and lots of other things as well. And we'll get into that at the end. I want to know what's going on. The camp, you hear him with Zach Heilprin as well. I was listening to you and Zach earlier today. I want to talk about Billy Edwards Jr. because the longer we go, it just kind of seems like he's not coming back. So can we look at the timeline of his injury? When that injury was first suffered, was there something in camp? Like, how did we get to this point where he tried to come back against Maryland, which feels like it's forever ago, and now it seems like he's further away than ever from actually playing football? Can we talk about the timeline of this injury and how it's been handled?
I'll try to connect the dots. So initially, Billy suffered the knee injury in fall camp. He took a shot to the knee from a defender inadvertently, walked off or limped off, and then I think we talked to him later that day. They held him out for a couple days as a precaution, but he was obviously back in time for the season opener. And then on the third series of that opener against Miami, Ohio, he went to hand the ball off and just collapsed to the turf in a non-contact injury. And it was the same knee, if I'm not mistaken. He had a brace over it. And obviously they rushed him back for the Maryland game. As much as Luke Fickell said they need to protect the players from themselves, that's clearly not what happened. I understand from Billy's perspective, he wanted to face his former team because that's where he started a year ago. But Wisconsin clearly in practice wasn't having him roll out of the pocket and actually test things, because if they would have known it was going to be impossible. Since the first time it happened on the second series, he immediately called to the sideline and said he needed to come out, and we haven't seen him since. So it's been a mystery, and I think the frustration on the part of reporters and seeking answers from Luke Fickell is that he hasn't provided any answers, and perhaps that is in part because he doesn't know the answer, because it's the type of injury that is not, all right, last year Tyler Van Dyke suffered a torn ACL. Well, we immediately know he's out for the season. Or Tanner Mordecai in year one under Fickell broke his hand. That might be about a month. This seems to be a dicier situation and a trickier proposition, and bringing him back early against Maryland has only complicated things.
It just is so abundantly clear now how much he shouldn't have been out there against Maryland.
Yep.
Like, how do you botch something that bad? Like when you're describing to me, well, they clearly didn't have him roll out in practice. They didn't have him try once, just one time, even after it's like, all right, now that everybody's gone, like, let's just do, just a group of coaches. Let's test it. Like, they didn't, not even once. Like, how do you botch it this bad? I don't know how you're expected to answer that, but that's.
Well, I mean, obviously I wasn't there at practice. We haven't seen practice since I believe the third week of August or the third week of fall camp. But realistically, I don't know how it would have been possible to have him move at all if the first time it happened in a game, he aggravated the injury. It just feels like some of the moves they're making are based on hope. They're hoping something good happens and trying to force it into existence because, in hindsight and even in the moment, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And it set Wisconsin back significantly because The other quarterbacks they've put in there have not been particularly good, other than the start Danny O'Neil got against Middle Tennessee, which did provide a sliver of optimism, but it's been all downhill ever since.
I thought he had some moxie in that game, but it turns out, as often it does with moxie, it stops and ends with moxie. There's a reason that you say someone has moxie instead of just saying they're good. They're good. That's the reason the word exists. So I listened to you and Zach throughout the season, and probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, you took questions from listeners. You guys pay attention to what Badgers fans say. People want to say Carter Smith. And you said, well, maybe not. Like, that seems unrealistic. But if it were to happen, probably look after the bye, the final runway of 4 games. This has kind of been the timeline that you had described, even hypothetically, going back a couple of weeks. Do you think it makes any sense at some point for Wisconsin to give Carter Smith some reps?
Sure do. They better play to some degree here against Washington. I know that Luke, I think in other circumstances, have said we have nothing to lose. Well, I look at that being the case of quarterback. If Billy Edwards Jr. can't play, and I have no reason to believe that it's magically going to fix itself now. Maybe he'll surprise the world. They did have a bye, but if he's not going to play, I don't know how anyone can say they've seen enough out of the other quarterbacks who have played. And the argument can be, well, you don't want to put a freshman in there who hasn't played and wreck his confidence because he's not ready. But you also need to see what he's got, because he is your quarterback in that 2025 recruiting class. He's a 4-star prospect, a big-time high school player. And if you're trying to build for the future, you need to know what you have in that room. So I want to see what he has. I have to imagine he'll be utilized at the very least in some packages. I don't know how fair it is to throw him out there as the starter, though I wouldn't be opposed to it, because Hunter Simmons in this 4-game stretch, I understand it's been a very difficult situation to be put into. He was the 3rd-string quarterback. All 4 teams they played have top 20 defenses. And as I said to Zach, some of that may be in part because they had the luxury of playing Wisconsin, but there's a large enough sample size to say they're actually good defenses. Michigan is 18th. Ohio State is 1st. Iowa is 2nd. Oregon is 4th. Having said all that, you cannot have your starting quarterback complete less than 40% of his passes and average like 77 yards passing a game. I'm talking about in these last 3 losses. And 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. I believe he's got 2 TDs and 5 picks all season. And Danny O'Neil is just a sack machine. It feels like they haven't taken many shots downfield. I don't know what his confidence level is in that area, but he continually gets sacked. And so, yeah, it may not be ideal circumstances to put Carter Smith in there because there are so many issues offensively. But honestly, what do you have to lose? Maybe he provides a spark and gives you something that you saw out of a Gideon Atuka, for example, or Mason Posa or Cooper Catalano. Now, those guys clearly were readier, perhaps, than Carter Smith might be now, but I would love to see him.
So I love the expression, it could always get worse.
Mm-hmm.
In this instance, it could get slightly worse, I guess. It can't get leagues worse. It can't get much worse. You were almost shut out in 3 straight games. So I guess it could look a little worse cosmetically, but the results can't be much worse. So you guys talked to Fickle on Monday, and he was asked about quarterbacks. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, he said something along the lines of everything will be considered. Everyone's going to get reps. It was pretty wide open. Is it safe to hope that they came into that bye week knowing exactly what they want to do, and they've had a plan and they've been enacting it? Like, he didn't roll in on Monday saying, all right, well, let's see what happens this week. Like, that's not actually how this has been approached, right?
For their sake, I sure as heck hope so. And
okay,
no,
good.
I don't believe they got to Monday and thought, we should come up with a plan. I think he's being coy and doesn't want to share what the plan is. And to a degree, maybe some of it is, I want to see what these guys have during a game week, during game prep, and allow for the first couple of days to get a better sense of it. On the other hand, Carter Smith got reps with younger players and maybe even with more than the 3s during that bye week, because you want to give players a rest. And I think they do have a plan. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Carter Smith and somebody else. I mean, Danny O'Neil, why not go back to him? I don't think it makes any sense to continue on this path with Hunter Simmons, but I say, why not go back to Danny O'Neil? That's only if you don't think Carter Smith is ready to start, but I'd still like to see him in some packages at the least.
I don't know what the plan is, and it's important to stick to a plan. I will say that this time around, if the first drive is one of the best of the season and they score, maybe push phase 2 of that plan off another drive or 2. Like, roll that same guy back out there, as opposed to maybe what they did against Michigan. Jesse Temple is here. Badger Connecting is on the camp with Zach as well. Really good episode that I was listening to earlier today where they talk more about the quarterback situation. Mason Posa, Cooper Catalano, stars in that Oregon game. Stars. They were bright spots for sure, and something for Badgers fans to grab onto. How do you feel about those two players, their role in the program, and the prospects that they're going to be here and be pieces into the future?
It's hard not to love it. I had a chance to talk to both of them this week. Mason Posa is a very interesting guy, really good quote, and he's a fully bought into Wisconsin. It's not often or ever Wisconsin goes to New Mexico and pulls a top-level talent like that. And he picked Wisconsin over Oregon and Texas A&M, and he said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, but when I was talking to him, he said, I'll be here unless the coaches get fired, or even if they do get fired. Like, I love it here. And so he feels like what he's been able to show here the last few months has validated his decision to come here. Cooper Catalano, I think, was always going to come here. He's an in-state guy from Germantown. He's the state's all-time leading tackler in high school. And we saw this in spring ball when he enrolled early. He's just constantly around the ball. The thing with Posa that's so intriguing is he wasn't here for the spring. He was busy winning a 4th consecutive state wrestling title in New Mexico, where he's forever a legend on the mat. And he didn't get here until the summer and very quickly rose up the ranks. And I talked with Zach about this on the camp, but sometimes you can watch a guy's high school tape, and I'm by no means an expert, but sometimes you can watch them and they pop out so much. You go, that dude is going to play very soon and has an incredibly bright future. I understand we're talking solely about guys' highlights, so they're always the best of what they have to offer. But he was really special in high school, reminded me of Leo Chanel and Nick Herbig, and hard to take a guy like that off the field. He had 13 tackles. He had 4 tackles in the first 2 series against Oregon, and he was everywhere. And he said he felt like some of the guys in the front 7 were a little scared going in about the fact Wisconsin was going to start 2 true freshmen. I don't think they have any reason to worry right now.
Interesting. So I like hearing all of that. 2 other injuries. I know we talked about Billy Edwards Jr., but 2 injuries. Dylan Jones, Jake Renfro. Dylan Jones had surgery on his foot. Is that what Zach was telling me earlier today? Because I know some people saw that and is like, well, he's checked out. Like he doesn't want to play, or he's thinking about it. Again, this is the things that I see from fans. So I just wanted to confirm for you, like, he had surgery, and then what's the latest on Renfro as well?
Yeah, with Jones, Luke Fickle called it a turf toe type thing. He said it was a toe/foot injury, so he underwent surgery, and he did get hurt, and he didn't play in the last game. And on the TV broadcast, it was said that he was out for the season. That was before Wisconsin announced anything about that. So I'm not going to question the legitimacy of someone's injury. I mean, he played in more games that, like, he's not going to get a redshirt year, even though he redshirted a year ago, like a medical redshirt or something. So anyway, he's out. Jake Renfro, Luke didn't specifically say what the injury was, but Jake has been banged up for a long time with a variety of injuries. And obviously it's those 2. And Matthew Traynor was the 3rd who underwent some surgery during the bye week, who was one of the team's reserve safeties, and FCS transfer tore his ACL. So the injuries do continue to stack up. And that's kind of what happens when you're in the midst of a lost season, but also in the midst of a long football season.
Housekeeping. I know some people have reported different things on this, but is Billy Edwards Jr. maybe going to look for a medical red shirt?
Yeah, so
I'd be interested in.
I can't speak to his mindset, but if that's a possibility, I don't know why you wouldn't explore it given the financial ramifications. I think he's not, based on what I've seen, in NFL quarterback. And so if you've got an opportunity to make in the neighborhood of 7 figures or even get close to that, I think that makes a lot of sense. But that remains to be seen. I did specifically ask Luke this week about Billy's situation, and I said, is it reasonable to believe, based on what you've seen, that he'll play this season? And if he doesn't, would you pursue a medical red shirt? And look, he doesn't know, or at least he's not saying he knows the injury situation, like how long it's going to keep Billy out. But he said, if Billy can play now, I would welcome him. If he can play the last 3 games or the last 2 games or even the last game, I want him out there. And that makes a lot of sense. We haven't had a chance to talk to Billy since the injury. So I can't speak to what his thought process is. But we have to be realistic about this. He's played in 2 games for a handful of series. You can, if you don't play in more than 4 games, you'd at least have an opportunity. And I don't know what the NCAA would ultimately decide, because he did take a redshirt year in his first year in college, but that's different from a medical redshirt. So I don't know whether you'd even get a 6th year. But those have to be considerations at this point, now that you're at this stage in the season.
Well, and who knows how long it would take for different governing bodies to decide such a thing. I mean, just look at what Nice Year Four Green's going through. I know that's different, but that story secondary, but also kind of insane that continues to play the way that it's played. A little on basketball. They beat Campbell the other night. It was fun to watch John Blackwell, Nolan Winter, and then some of the new faces as well. I know you had a sit down with Austin Rapp. Your impressions on the team, and then tell us about that conversation too.
Well, I know the exhibition season didn't necessarily excite Badgers fans. Had a 1-point loss to Oklahoma, played a close game to UW Platteville. D3 teams are always a bit of a challenge, and Platteville's very good. Having said that, impressive performance, particularly down the stretch against Campbell. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to build on the things they did a year ago. I like the pieces they put together, as I've been saying throughout the summer. Nick Boyd is a great compliment to John Blackwell, and just because you have somebody on the ball more doesn't mean John can't score. He dropped 31 points, which is a pretty darn good debut for a season. And obviously, Austin Rapp, I just like his game. A year ago at Portland, he averaged more than 7 3-point attempts per game, which is unbelievable for a shooting guard, but for a dude who's 6'10", is even more amazing. And in this Badger Bites video, he talked about how he's got the green light to shoot it. Wisconsin coaches told him they want him to shoot it just as much as he did at Portland. And you don't need to tell him twice. He's going to fire it up at every opportunity he gets. So I think it's a very entertaining team early on.
Sounds like a good fit. We look forward to watching these guys kind of learn and grow together, because that's the nature of college basketball, right? It's a new group, and especially I know defensively, Guard talked about some things that they need to get honed in, and it's just how the sport works. It's what we saw last year, and I don't see why that would change anytime soon. Jesse, appreciate your time. We will talk next week.
Thanks, Grant.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Final segment, Wisco Sports Show, presented by Lacrosse Beer House, corner 3rd and Pearl, downtown Lacrosse. Bill Michaels huddle in just a couple minutes. Appreciate Jesse Temple and his time. If you missed that, always find it in the podcast, or I always post our interview with Jesse to the YouTube page, Wisco Sports Show with Grant Pills. Throw it a subscription. I'd appreciate it. Let's take a call here before we get out the door. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on 99.
I figured Eric take us home for the second straight night. What's going on?
So the daylight savings time.
Correct.
First off, you can't save daylight. Secondly, because if you could, we'd have some right now, right?
I'd certainly like some. Yeah, if you got any extra.
All right. And you seemed a bit confused on it. So if we just stayed with this time, you would have sunset at 8:30 in the summertime because it would be an hour earlier. We don't need Neil deGrasse Tyson on this.
Okay.
That's what it would be. 8:30 is what you would have.
That's not late enough. I want it later. I want it
okay.
mildly light outside until 10 in the summer. I'll eat it in the winter. I don't care.
All right. I just you seemed a little confused, and
I'm always confused. More than a little. I'm always confused. Greatly confused.
So, other than that, it was another great show, Grant. Another great show. A lot of good input, and
I'm sure.
And I feel better about everything. I do. The one thing I'm concerned about is JJ McCarthy. I want you to watch the game on Sunday because you're going to be able to because Packers play Monday night, right?
Okay.
I want you to watch him play, and there's going to be an over and under on how many somersaults he does. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to say he does at least 2 somersaults. When you watch him play, you'll see he launches himself into somersaults. It's a fact.
Why does he do that? Just tuck and roll guy?
I don't know. I want him to end it. I want him because people are going to start making fun of him because he's like tumbling across the field doing. You watch. I'm going to say 2 somersaults.
2 somersaults. Well, I'll keep my eye out for that, Eric. I appreciate it. I didn't know he did that. We have some silly-bodied quarterbacks in the NFC North. Caleb Williams is just silly in general, but Jordan Love and obviously JJ McCarthy as well. I didn't know he did that. Speaking of good input, I got to replay the beginning of this call one more time. I've never heard anything like this before. Mad Max called earlier, normally from the Racine tunnels, from a different locale today. Listen to this.
Hey, Grant, this is Mad Max.
Hey, Max, what's going on? In the Racine tunnels?
Yeah, well, I'm not in the tunnels right now. I'm actually driving east on 94 into the newly autonomous DOT zone that will that'll be going on for about 4 or 5 years. So we'll see how that goes.
Sure. Did he say autonomous DOT zone? I'm a fan of that. I would like for that to catch on. He also went on, please find this in the podcast, I swear, to talk about Tom Brady cloning his dog and how they've been doing that with dogs in the Foxconn Dome in the Racine time. I mean, why else would you have that dome there? There's some good conspiracy theories. Ebo would eat this stuff up. But yeah, organ harvesting, blood harvesting, and the Racine tunnels, etc. No, Aaron Rodgers clones a dog. It would be hell on earth on every sports network and cable news network and every podcast. But Tom Brady does it, and we're all like, oh, okay, that's just something that we're supposed to know and not acknowledge and not be weird about. I refuse. Dude's a lizard person. There's something wrong with that guy. You can see it behind his lifeless eyes and his plastic surgery-induced cheeks. The cheeks on his face, not on his ass, although I wouldn't put it past him. The Bill Michaels Huddle coming up in just a couple minutes. Mike Clemens at 6:30. We'll make our picks. You'll hear Bill's conversation with Mark Schofield. All that coming up for the next 2 hours, so no need to go anywhere. Hang around. The rest of you, if you do jump off, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Already looking forward